Yo, Tumelo here, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the 3 ways to know if you have reached the social hook point. And if you can correctly identify these 3 ways, it's going to help you to move the interaction forward much more smoothly and also help you with either preventing you from being a dancing monkey or showing you that you still need to keep hooking the girl more further. So before we crack into the video, what I want you to do is to please click on that subscribe button, and next to the subscribe button is a notification bell. Click on that as well. In that way, you'll get all the amazing videos and content that I'll be sending out to you. But enjoy the video, take as much value as you can, and let's crack into it. Now, before we crack into the 3 ways, there's just a few things that I want to point out. The first important thing is that the social hook point is not a definite place. And what I mean by that is that every girl is unique. And because every girl is unique, every girl's interest levels will differ, which means that her hook point will be different to another girl's hook point, and that girl's hook point will be different to that girl's hook point over there, because every girl's interest levels are different, which means that their hook point will be at a different point to anybody else. And there's a lot of factors that contribute to where a girl's social hook point is. And the main thing that you can also look for is her vibe, okay? This is why we talk about things like GPS, genuine, playful, sexual. And I've actually done an in-depth video about this GPS model and how this relates to spiking a girl's emotions and hooking her. And I'll link the video up there. But what's important to understand is that a girl's interest level is different, which means that her hook point will be different to another girl, which means that the social hook point is not a definite place. It's not that, okay, it's over there. It's at the corner of this street and that street. That is where every girl's hook point is. That's not it. So you need to understand that. That is why you want to build calibration, because building calibration will allow you to understand different types of girls, how they react differently, and where their interest levels are. And once you have built up a good level of calibration, you'll be able to tell where a girl's interest levels are based on the type of girl she is and what things interest her. So first point is, the hook point is not a definite place. The second thing which I want to point out is that the hook point is not a finish line. And what I mean by this is, just because the girl is hooked, it doesn't mean that she will be hooked forever. Okay, just because you've reached the hook point doesn't mean, okay, I'm done, I don't have to ever hook her ever again. And this is not true. And this is because a girl's interest levels may change throughout the entire interaction, which means you may need to re-hook her again, okay? She may lose interest in you throughout the interaction. Something as simple as she might just lose interest in you, okay? You might be talking about a specific topic, and then she loses interest in the topic, she loses interest in you, and then you have, she's not hooked in the interaction anymore. Or something as simple as the environment, okay? Maybe she gets hooked by the music or the DJ or the exterior environment. Something else captures her attention, and she then loses interest in what you have to say. Or her friends could come into the interaction, and then she will pay more attention to her friend and then lose interest in you, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is that the hook point is not a finish line. Her interest levels may change throughout the interaction, which means that throughout the interaction, you may be above or below that social hook point. And you want to be constantly aware of this, because this will then indicate to you whether you need to re-hook the girl or she's still hooked in the interaction. So you always want to pay attention to where the girl is in the interaction, okay? And the hook point isn't a finish line. So don't think just because you've reached it, you're done and dusted, okay? I'll never have to go back to this again. That's not how it works, okay? So this is very important, because I know a lot of people ask me, how do I know I've reached the hook point? Because they're asking me from the frame of, okay, I want to know that I've reached it so I don't ever have to get back to it again, okay? No, it doesn't work like that, okay? her interest levels change throughout the interaction. So you want to be constantly aware of where she is in terms of her interest levels. Now let's crack into the first way to know or to see if you have reached that social hook point. And the first way to see or know is when she starts giving you indicators of interest. Okay, she starts giving you eye-eyes, and she can give you indicators of interest through her verbals, through her body language, and through the tone in her voice. And let's actually look at some specific examples. So let's start with indicators of interest through her verbals. So she could give you indicators of interest through her verbals. For example, things like she gives you a compliment, she asks you questions, okay, she actually qualifies herself, okay, or she reinitiates the conversation, or she actually gives you full responses to your questions in the conversation, or she's actually trying to extend the actual interaction, okay? Now, some examples of her giving you indicators of interest with the body language. Number one is she actually gives you eye contact. Secondly, she could be leaning in to the conversation, or she actually is smiling at you. She's laughing with you in the interaction, and she's actually starting to touch you, okay? And then the next one is her indicators of interest, her eyes through the tone in her voice. And you can identify this when she's actually speaking to you in an uptone kind of voice, okay? In a tone of voice where she's actually qualifying herself, basically. Now, the thing with her giving you indicators of interest is it's not just that she gives you one indicator of interest and then you think, okay, she's hooked, I can now move on, okay? You want to actually see what we call a cluster of IOIs. You want to see more than one IOIs. You want to see multiple IOIs to give you the go-ahead or the green light to see that, okay, she actually is interested in the conversation, because indicators of interest from the girl show you that she's interested, she's attracted, and that means now you can actually move the interaction forward. She means that she's hooked, okay? So you can move the interaction forward. That is the first way. Before I crack into the next two ways of knowing whether you have reached the social hook point, what I want to quickly remind you of, okay, because it's always important to remember what the end goal here is, okay, and what the actual point of what we're doing here is that, again, you're trying to reach the social hook point because you want to show her that you're an interesting male, okay, you want to actually start building attraction with the girl. So remember this, is that the result of interest, okay, the result of you spiking the girl's emotions, or the result of you trying to hook the girl, okay, and the result of the techniques that you are using to reach the social hook point is to generate an emotional reaction, okay? So the result of the interest that you're trying to generate is an emotional reaction. And what that emotional reaction allows you to do is it allows you and it buys you time to actually build attraction with the girl. So what's important to understand here is, before I get into the next 2 points, is that it's the emotional reaction. So you want to use the emotional reaction that you receive from the girl as a mark for you to then allow you to take the interaction forward and try and move the interaction forward to the next stage or the next phase, or whatever you want to call it. Just move the interaction forward. So the point is, get the emotional reaction. Once you've got the emotional reaction, use that as a mark or as a test for you to actually move the interaction forward, because you moving the interaction forward will actually be an indicator to you that the girl is actually hooked. Okay, so let's crack into the final 2 ways. The second way to know if you have reached the social hook point is to test with investment. So again, I said that you want to generate an emotional reaction. So once you've got the emotional reaction, what you can do is you can test for investment. And how you do that is by actually asking for investment. More specifically, asking for verbal investment. Now, I've done a whole video on how to get the girl to verbally invest into the conversation and what techniques you can use to actually generate verbal investment. But the point here is that you get the emotional reaction and then you test for investment. And this is important because, again, if the girl invests into the conversation, that's an indicator that she's hooked, because she wants to invest, she wants to carry on the conversation, okay, as opposed to if you ask for investment and she doesn't invest, okay, it's an indicator that, okay, she's not hooked, okay, she's not actually captured by this conversation. You need to do some more work, and you need to implement more social hooking techniques so that you can actually get her to the point where she actually wants to verbally invest into the conversation. So you test with investment, okay, because again, it's not a definite place. You don't actually really know where specifically it is in the specific girl, but you can actually test for it by asking for investment. So again, I've actually done a video on that. I'll link the video over there. Okay, click on the eye. Okay, how to get the girl to verbally invest into the conversation, and this will be a good indicator for you. And the last way to know if the girl, or if you have reached the social hook point, is to actually test again with escalation. Now, it can be any form of escalation, whether it's verbal, physical, or logistical. Again, you want to test for escalation, and how you do that again is you get the emotional reaction. Once you've identified an emotional reaction or an emotional response from the girl, then you test by trying to move the interaction forward with that escalation. Again, verbal, you can use a verbal escalation ladder. Physical, again, you can try do some keynote techniques. Again, if she responds again by touching you back, again, that's an indicator of interest. As I explained before, that's an indicator to show, okay, she's hooked, she's attracted, let's move the interaction forward, okay? Or by logistical escalation, okay? You've just opened, you've approached her, you then try and move the interaction forward from where you are to the bar or to a table over there where you can sit down and speak to the girl. And then again, if she does not want to move the interaction forward with you, that's a sign that, okay, she's not hooked yet, let me keep hooking the girl. And if she actually does move the interaction forward with you, then it's a sign that she's hooked, because again, you're moving the interaction forward, which is the whole point in the first place. So the third way is to test with escalation. Get the emotional reaction, test with escalation, and then boom, that's when you know. So those are the 3 ways to know whether you have reached the social hook point. And what I want you to do is to actually comment which one of the 3 is your favorite, and because I'm actually interested to know your thoughts, which one is your favorite, which method do you use to test whether you have, or to see whether you have reached the social hook point. Let me know your thoughts, but that's it from me. I'll see you in the next video. I'm out.